Well, in light of that, then,
Yeah.
wouldn't you think that it would be prudent to cease the 404C action at this point until we get all the facts?
Well, there is no
Are you willing to cease that 404C action until we get the facts?
No, sir, I don't see any evidence that there was collusion here. And I want to again point out that he is a fish biologist. He is not a decision maker for the agency.
Well, but collusion by a fish biologist is still
That decision is made on the basis
collusion.
of the science.
Yeah. All right. So let me close with this. What about the money that we're spending there on Pebble Mine? What if we took that money and we brought it over and cleaned up the CTS site? Don't you think that would be a great idea?
We all have our priorities, sir.
And CTS is mine. So with that,
that has been made very
I want to be sympathetic to Mr. Cummings. If he has some additional questions he would like to ask.
I promise you I won't take 12 minutes. But let me say this, Ms. McCarthy, as I close, because I've got to kind of get to a meeting. You got a tough job. You've got a tough job. And, you know, when you're trying to protect the health and the safety of all Americans and keep the environment and the water clean, you got a tough job. On the one hand, we hear folks say, don't regulate us too much. But I keep thinking about that situation in West Virginia with the water, and they had to bring in bottled water. And I asked myself the question, if that happened in various districts throughout the country, that would be a major, major, major problem. And so I just want to leave you with two things. One, I don't know if you heard my opening statement when I said that this is our watch. And it's our watch to make sure that we keep our environment clean, safe, all the things that you try to do, our water, all the things you do, the mission of the EPA. But at the same time, you know, sometimes if an organization has problems within itself, it's kind of hard for it to carry out its mission. When I hire people, I always check with them, make sure they're not drama people. Because a drama person can mess up a whole office. And when you have a drama person, it takes away from the ability to accomplish what you set out to do. At the same time, when we hear about situations like Beale, it really, I mean, it just rubs everybody the wrong way. And the reason why I had asked Chairman Issa to let me interject my question earlier, and I've been here for 99% of this hearing, is because I wanted to make sure that you all, in this moment, it's a critical moment, had gotten the wake-up call or calls to take action to make sure that we did every single thing in our power to make sure another bill did not happen. And I remember as I was raising my kids, I used to tell them, you're going to be punished today. Because I realized that if I allow this moment to come and you did something improper and I don't correct it, it's usually going to get worse. And what I'm saying to you is those critical moments come along, and Beale is the poster child for a critical moment. question is whether we will take that moment, learn from it, correct it, and put in all the safeguards that are necessary so that it does not happen again, but just as significantly so that it doesn't get worse. So while we've got to be, it's our watch to guard our environment, to take care of our water, to do all those things to keep our people safe, but it's also our watch to make the agency or help the agency be the very, very, very best that it can be. The other thing that happens is this, that takes away from that, is when we have hearings and legitimate questions. But the time that we spend dealing with those kinds of issues also takes away. But we have to do that. You understand that. This is not personal. We have to look into the bills. We have to do those things. You have to ask the critical questions, like the chairman was just asking.
Yep.
But we have to also make sure that we do all that we can to minimize the problems within so that we can address the problems that we've set out that we're supposed to be addressing. Does that make sense?
Everything you say is absolutely on target, and I want to just verify that I understand the importance of this committee and the work that you do. I understand the importance of the Office of Inspector General at EPA. You know, we have challenges to keep up with modern times in terms of our systems of accountability. We're working through those. And, you know, I was handed a John Beale when I got in there. While I would have loved to have corrected that situation and known right out of the gate, he's sitting in a jail right now, we've got money back, and I'm getting more. I had a town hall just I don't know, in May on this very issue. Two reasons. One is to enforce accountability in our agency, but secondly, to let my agency know that I know what we are dealing with here is out of 16,000 people, I'm dealing with a handful, and I cannot let that handful of people destroy the morale of my agency and our ability to get done what the public expects us to do. I am surrounded by incredibly dedicated, talented people, and I want them to be rewarded for what they do and know that when there is a bad apple there, it's coming out. And I'm finding it, and it's coming out as quickly as I can get it.
And in your town, and as I close, in your town hall meeting, I hope that you address the issue of whistleblowing, because I think that's the way we can get to some of this. Somebody has to know something. So, you know, I think that's important.
Yep.
But the last thing you said, and I got to end on this, is that, you know, a lot of times we criticize Federal employees, but I've often said that, you know, when I talk to Federal employees, particularly, I've talked to people in your agency and others, and a lot of these folks, most of them, as a matter of fact, they come in and they do these jobs. They could make a lot more money outside of government, but they come because it feeds their souls, because they see something greater than them. And I see that over and over again with EPA employees. And so I just want to, and others, but we're talking about your agency today. And I want to thank them, because a lot of them have sacrificed a lot, because they know that it's our watch, and they are good watch persons trying to make a difference for the future.
Thank you, and it's an honor for me to represent them.
Thank you. Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you. Administrator, by our standards, you've done well and quickly. As we bring it to a close for today, we began with the question of the outstanding subpoena. Clearly, I hope that over the next few days that our folks and your folks can resolve this with all the emails being known and understood. If we can't, we've already had that discussion, but I hope that we can. I'm sure that when you mentioned in this dialogue at the opening that you talked about the balance of power, that you appreciate that we too have an obligation as Article 1 to do that balance fully and freely, that the documents we're asking for a court under FOIA would undoubtedly order. And that's really what we're asking for, is to be as never less than a FOIA discovery would arrive at. And this committee has a recent history in the case of the Benghazi investigation of knowing that, in fact, correspondence from the White House is often protected, shielded, and not disclosed to the committee, but ultimately a Federal judge seems to be respected. As I look at Article 1, Article 2, and Article 3, and I've just been over in my other role at Judiciary, I realize that Article 1 and 2 need to resolve as many things as they can before we go to Article 3, before we go to the courts. That's my goal. That's the reason that I'd like to have you seriously relook at the issue of all of the documents, not just one, since that document, I think if you relook at it, you'll realize if you have a suspicious nature, as my investigators are required to, they could say it asks more questions than it answers, and it leads to their wanting to see more for that reason. So I hope we're able to do this. Obviously, we're still trying to get the Pebble Mine question of the documentation,
Yes.
the order, and individuals who are not available to us resolved, and we'll continue to do that with other committees. Lastly, the committee has begun doing interrogatories whenever possible in order to not need to bring witnesses back. This allows you to use a vast portion of your staff to get us answers to questions. There were a number of questions asked today that by nature you can't fully answer. And so what we will do is we're going to recess. We'll present you interrogatories that are consistent either with the discovery questions that we mentioned or, and call them just questions to EPA. They're either related to today's hearing or they're related to the outstanding subpoenas. And we'd ask that you respond to them in a timely fashion. And then once they're responded to, we'll close the record on this. So we will stand in recess on this hearing pending the response to all of those. And again, I want to thank you for your presence.
Thank you very much for the hearing and the courteous way in which you have run it, and we certainly hope we can resolve these issues together. Thank you.
I do. Thank you.